Today we're in 1 Samuel chapter 19 and 20. And these two chapters are really dealing with this relationship between King Saul and the anointed King David. King Saul is really having some trouble and is showing his jealousy and knows that he is losing control of his kingdom and takes it out on David. So let's see how this plays out. One day, Saul told his son Jonathan and his officers to kill David. But Jonathan liked David a lot, and he warned David, "My father's trying to have you killed, so be very careful. Hide in a field tomorrow morning, and I'll bring him there. Then I'll talk to him about you, and if I find out anything, I'll let you know." The next morning, Jonathan reminded Saul about the many good things David had done for him. And then he said, "Why do you want to kill David? He hasn't done anything to you. He has served in your army and has always done what's best for you. He even risked his life to kill Goliath. The Lord helped Israel win a great victory that day, and it made you happy." Saul agreed and promised, "I swear by the living Lord that I won't have David killed." Jonathan called to David and told him that what Saul had said. Then he brought David to Saul, and David served in Saul's army just as he had done before. The next time there was a war with the Philistines, David fought hard and forced them to retreat. One night, David was in Saul's home playing the harp for him. Saul was sitting there holding a spear when an evil spirit from the Lord took control of him. Saul tried to pin David to the wall with the spear, but David dodged and it stuck in the wall, and David ran out of the house and escaped. Saul sent guards to watch David's house all night and then to kill him in the morning. Michal, David's wife, told him, "If you don't escape tonight, they'll kill you tomorrow." She helped David go through a window and climb down to the ground. As David ran off, Michal put a statue in his bed. She put goat hair on its head and dressed it in some of David's clothes. The next morning, Saul sent guards to arrest David, but Michal told him David is sick. Saul sent the guards back and told them, "Get David out of his bed and bring him to me so I can have him killed." When the guards went in, all they found in the bed was the statue with goat hair on its head. "Why have you tricked me this way?" Saul asked Michal. "You helped my enemy get away," she answered. He said he would kill me if I didn't help him escape." Meanwhile, David went to Samuel at Ramah and told him what Saul had done. Then Samuel and David went to Prophet's village and stayed there. Someone told Saul, "David is at Prophet's village in Ramah." Saul sent a few soldiers to bring David back, and they went to Ramah, and they found Samuel in charge of a group of prophets who were all prophesying. Then the Spirit of God took control of the soldiers, and they started prophesying too. When Saul heard what had happened, he sent another group of soldiers, but they prophesied the same way. He sent a third group of soldiers, but the same thing happened to them. Finally, Saul left for Ramah himself. He went as far as the deep pit at the town of Saku, and he asked, "Where are Samuel and David?" "At Prophet's village in Ramah," the people answered. Saul left for Ramah, but as he walked along, the Spirit of God took control of him, and he started prophesying. Then when he reached Prophet's village, he stripped off his clothes and prophesied in front of Samuel. He dropped to the ground and lay there naked all day and night. That's how the saying started, "Is Saul now a prophet?" David escaped from the prophet's village, and then he ran to see Jonathan and asked, "Why does your father Saul want to kill me? What have I done wrong? My father can't be trying to kill you. He never does anything without telling me about it. Why would he hide this from me? It can't be true." "Jonathan, I swear it's true, but your father knows how much you like me, and he didn't want to break your heart. That's why he didn't tell you. I swear by the living Lord and by your own life that I'm only one step ahead of death." Then Jonathan said, "Tell me what to do, and I'll do it." And David answered, "Tomorrow is the new moon festival, and I'm supposed to eat dinner with your father. But instead, I'll hide in the field until the evening of the next day. If Saul wonders where I am, tell him, David asked me to let him go to his hometown of Bethlehem so he could take part in a sacrifice his family makes there every year. If your father says it's all right, then I'm safe. But if he gets angry, you'll know he wants to harm me. Be kind to me. After all, it was your idea to promise the Lord that we would always be loyal friends. If I've done anything wrong, kill me yourself, but don't hand me over to your father." Don't worry, Jonathan said. If I find out that my father wants to kill you, I'll certainly let you know. How will you do that? David asked. Let's go out to this field and I'll tell you, Jonathan answered. When they got there, Jonathan said, I swear by the Lord, God of Israel, that 2 days from now I'll know what my father's planning. Of course, I'll let you know if he's friendly towards you. But if he wants to harm you, I promise to tell you and help you escape. And I ask the Lord to punish me severely if I don't keep my promise. I pray that the Lord will bless you just as he used to bless my father. Someday the Lord will wipe out all of your enemies. Then, if I'm still alive, please be as kind to me as the Lord has been. But if I'm dead, be kind to my family. Jonathan and David made an agreement that even David's descendants would have to keep. Then Jonathan said, I pray that the Lord will take revenge on your descendants if they break our promise. Jonathan thought as much of David as he did of himself. So he asked David to promise once more that he would be a loyal friend. And after this, Jonathan said, tomorrow is a new moon festival, and people will wonder where you are, because your place will be empty. By the day after tomorrow, everyone will think you've been gone a long time. Then go to the place where you hid before and stay beside Going Away Rock. I'll shoot 3 arrows at a target off to the side of the rock and send my servant to find the arrows. You'll know if it's safe to come out by what I tell him. If it is safe, I swear by the living Lord that I'll say, the arrows are on this side of you. Pick them up. But if it isn't safe, I'll say to the boy, the arrows are farther away. This will mean that the Lord wants you to leave and you must go. But he will always watch us to make sure that we keep the promise we made to each other. So David hid in the field, and during the new moon festival, Saul sat down to eat by the wall, just as he always did. Jonathan sat across from him, and Abner sat next to him. But David's place was empty. Saul didn't say anything that day because he was thinking something must have happened to David to make David unfit to be at the festival. Yes, something must have happened. The day after the new moon festival, when David's place was still empty, Saul asked Jonathan, why hasn't that son of Jesse come to eat with us? He wasn't here yesterday, and he still isn't here today. Jonathan answered, the reason David hasn't come to eat with you is that he begged me to let him go to Bethlehem. He said, please let me go. My family is offering a sacrifice, and my brother told me I have to be there. Do me this favor and let me slip away to see my brothers. Saul was furious with Jonathan, yelled, you're no son of mine, you traitor. I know you've chosen to be loyal to that son of Jesse. You should be ashamed of yourself, and your own mother should be ashamed that you were ever born. You'll never be safe, and your kingdom will be in danger as long as that son of Jesse is alive. Turn him over to me now. He deserves to die. Why do you want to kill David? Jonathan asked. What has he done? Saul threw his spear at Jonathan and tried to kill him. Then Jonathan was sure that his father really did want to kill David. Jonathan was angry that his father had insulted David so terribly. He got up, he left the table, and didn't eat anything at all that day. In the morning, Jonathan went out to the field to meet David. He took a servant boy along and told him, when I shoot the arrows, you run and find them for me. The boy started running, and Jonathan shot an arrow so that it would go beyond him. Then the boy got near the place where the arrow had landed. Jonathan shouted, isn't the arrow on past you? Jonathan shouted to him again, hurry up, don't stop. The boy picked up the arrows and brought them back to Jonathan, but he had no idea about what was going on. Only Jonathan and David knew. Jonathan gave his weapons to the boy and told him, take these back into town. After the boy had gone, David got up from beside the mound and bowed very low 3 times. Then he and Jonathan kissed each other and cried, but David cried louder. Jonathan said, take care of yourself. And remember, we each have asked the Lord to watch and make sure that we and our descendants keep our promise forever. David left, and Jonathan went back to town. Here is a picture from 1508, an artist from the Netherlands. It is in the museum in Honolulu, Hawaii, but it's of David playing his harp for King Saul. So we see this animosity that has developed in Saul, and what he has done is really put Jonathan in a tough place. He's really put his soldiers in a tough place. He's put his servants in a tough place because they all like David, and Saul wants him dead. Saul has put his daughter in a tough place because she hid David for him and helped him to escape. And so we wonder, should we be faithful to the king, or should we be faithful to our parents and all of that? And the answer is yes, except when they tell us to sin. And obviously Saul was trying to get people to sin in his effort to capture David, and they chose, thankfully, to follow God instead of a person. So that's our challenge too, is the laws of the land are important. Our parents are important. We should do everything that they ask of us to do. But our priority is not to sin and to follow God first. Have a great day.